Alright, so hello and welcome. Today we're going to be going over the fighting styles for D&D 5e, and I'm going to be ranking them all and telling you how you should use them and which ones are the best, okay? Um, so without further ado, let's get into it. So, fighting styles. Fighting styles come from you as a class. They're either specific to your class, or there is a feat called Fighting Initiate that you can pick up, okay? The only prerequisite for that is basically proficiency with a martial weapon, which basically most classes, if not all, can get. Okay. Um, Though there's a little caveat on that fighting initiate. It is only for the fighter. You can only pick fighting style options from the fighter class, which actually does limit you. Okay. We'll go into those two different fighting styles that you can't actually pick up from this one in a minute. Fighting styles, they buff your combat options or open up new possibilities. Okay. Classes that get fighting style are Fighter, level 1, Paladin at level 2, Rangers at level 2, and then the Sword Bard at level 3, and probably some others that I'm missing. But, here we go. So, as I mentioned, the Fighting Initiate, you can only learn fighting styles from the Fighter class, okay? But there are two different ones that you cannot learn unless you are a Paladin or Ranger, and we're going to go for the Ranger one first, okay? It's called Druidic Warrior. I rank it here as number 1 star, okay? If you are a ranger and you can take this one, it's by far the best one you can possibly pick up, okay? Why is this? Very simple. You get cantrips, okay? As a ranger, you don't usually get cantrips. If you look on your right, you don't know cantrips. The ranger doesn't know any cantrips. You know spells, but no cantrips. Now, why are cantrips important? Cantrips are important because they let you do other things in combat. And you have Druidic Warrior, which means you can learn 2 cantrips from the Druid spell list, okay? This is very important because Druids can pick up Guidance, which is one of the best cantrips in the game, because it lets you roll a d4 on any ability check you're going to make, okay? As long as you have time to make it, you can prepare yourself to make it, okay? This is invaluable for you and your allies. And you have one other cantrip you can learn from the druids. Okay, you can do whatever you want with that cantrip, and it gives the ranger ability to actually do magic, which it doesn't really usually have the ability to do, and it is very impressive that this is a thing. And you should take it for the ranger if you have the option to. Okay, it is an optional thing for fighting styles, but most DMs, let's be honest, they're going to let you have it anyway. So take it there. The other one that is a unique fighting style that is also number 1 is limited to only paladins, okay? They, paladins, usually don't get cantrips, okay? Now, you can learn 2 cantrips from the cleric spell list. This is very nice because you, as a paladin, generally use a strength build, okay? With that strength build, you have only strength, which means your ranged weapons are pretty bad, which means you can only use really throwing weapons, which are bad. Okay, unless you're doing a warlock build, then it doesn't really matter. But your cantrips you can choose is Guidance, again, one of the best things in the game, and Toll the Dead. Toll the Dead gets you 60 feet that you can basically use as a ranged attack, okay? And this spell will level up with you as you take more paladin levels. It goes up to 2d8 or 2d12. That's 5th level, and then it goes up again at 11th level, and it goes up again at 17th level if you actually get that high, okay? This is a very good thing to take for a paladin, and it's the number 1 for them in my opinion, especially for paladin because, you can take it there. Other than that, it's very good. There might be a little caveat here is if you start multi-classing into warlock with cantrips, then it starts getting a little iffy there, but we're not talking about that. We're talking just straight paladins here, okay? So, without further ado, let's go down the regular fighting styles. These ones can be picked up by basically the fighter class, okay? We're going to rank them. So we have 1 to 11, and number 11 is protection, okay? Why is protection so low? Well, let's read the description. When a creature you see attacks a target other than you that is within 5 feet of you, you can use your reaction to impose disadvantage on the attack roll, okay? You must be wielding a shield. This is important. If the enemy has multi-attack, which pretty much every single one does, you will only be able to roll once, okay? They will only be able to roll the disadvantage once, okay? You may save your partner from that attack, you may not, okay? But and then the other attacks are completely at regular. As I say, use your reaction for an okay, okay? It's an okay ability. Sentinel is better. Okay, but we'll get into Sentinel later. But Sentinel would be better, which basically Sentinel lets you, if an enemy attacks a person that's not you, that's within 5 feet of you, just like this one, you can attack them as a reaction. You can see why this is a little better. Sentinel would be better for that. Okay, protection, not so much. It also requires you to be a tank build. Okay, and usually tank builds are in the front line doing the tanking, which means that there's usually not many people near you. Okay, because you're the one getting hit all the time. So it requires you to be wielding a shield, be a tank, and also have someone next to you, which doesn't usually happen. So that's why this is ranked at number 11. Okay, very, very, very situational. Number 10, Unarmed Fighting. Okay, I'll just read this to you. Your unarmed strikes deal bludgeoning damage equal to 1d6 plus your strength mod on a hit. Basically, it increases basically you become proficient in hitting things with your fists. Okay, if you aren't wielding any weapons or shields, it becomes a d8. Okay, that basically means they're long sword-ish damage. Okay, at the start of each of your turns, you can deal 1d4 bludgeoning damage to one creature grappled by you. Okay, here's the problem with all this. One, you're using your fists and bludgeoning damage. Okay, the problem with that is it's not magical, and it's only your strength mod, and you can't upgrade them ever. You can't get a +1 magic sword or +1 fists. That's not how that works. Okay? Additionally, if you want to use the additional thing to do 1d4 damage to someone, you must grapple them. Okay? Which means they have to succeed or they have to fail on athletics or acrobatics, and you roll the same thing, and you have to grapple them. When you are grappled, you can't move. They also can't move. Highly, highly situational for grappling. Okay? So now you're tying grappling to a 1d4. There is a very, 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 very specific build in here that you could probably do, but just play a monk. Monk gets Fury of Blows, and their punches are magical, okay? They solve most of the problems. If you want to play an unarmed fighter with fists, play monk. Don't do it on a fighter. Number 9, thrown weapon fighting. Here is a problem with thrown weapon fighting. You draw a weapon that has a thrown weapon property as part of the attack you make with the weapon. Okay, so basically you can grab it and throw it in the same action. The problem is most DMs don't care. Okay, most DMs don't care that you didn't have the thing prepared. They just assume it's in your hand and boom, boom. Okay. Addition, when you hit with a ranged attack using a thrown weapon, you gain a +2 to the damage roll. Okay. Now, this is specifying it using a throwing weapon. If it was only a ranged attack, it would be better, but it is specifically for throwing weapons. Ask yourself, how often do you use throwing weapons? The answer, I'm assuming, is basically almost never, okay? This is why bows are better in terms of range and damage output, okay? And there's a better fighting style for range attacks that will come up, okay? And you can probably guess what that fighting style is, okay? But ranged throwing weapons, okay? They're very, very rarely used, okay? And I know it's not worth it. Not for a +2 damage. There are many things that are way better, okay? That's why it's ranked number 9. Superior technique, number 8, okay? Basically, shorthand description, you learn a maneuver from the Battlemaster archetype, okay? As you can see, it's very complex, but you basically get the ability to use one of them, okay? You also gain a superiority die to use that maneuver, okay? And you get that one back on a short or long rest. Here's the problem with technical superior technique. You only get one of these. You only get one maneuver, and the superiority die never increases to a D8 or a D12 or a D10 because of your Battlemaster. It stays a D6 forever. Which means that if you're anybody but a Battlemaster, you get one time use that it can fail, okay? So let's say for trip attack, you get one trip attack. That is it. And then you have to take a short rest. It is absolutely not very good or almost terrible on anything that is not a Battlemaster, okay? For Battlemaster, it is an okay/good choice. For everyone else, it's kind of useless. And the reason I say that for Battlemaster, it's okay/good is because you can get more superiority die from this one, okay? And it just, you start getting ridiculous numbers of superiority die, and that would help you as a Battlemaster. That's why it's ranked number 8. It's not very good, but it's not terrible. Number 7, Interception, okay? Basically, Interception lets you riposte an attack, okay? When a creature you can see hits a target other than you, within 5 feet of you, with an attack, you can use your reaction to reduce the damage the target takes by 1d10 plus your proficiency modifier to a minimum of 0 damage, which basically means you deflect it, okay? You must be wielding a shield or symbol or martial weapon to use this reaction, which basically means you have it, okay? As long as you're not like a spellcaster that doesn't have Warcaster, okay? But most people in the front line have this. It's a decent use of your reaction to save 1 attack against a friendly, but again, more monsters at higher levels means you're saving 1 attack, but the enemy have 8. So I don't know how useful that is. Okay, Sentinel is better. Sentinel is a feat that lets you, if the enemy is going to hit a friend of yours, you can hit them. Okay, this might outright kill them and stop all of their attacks. You can see why that might be better. Interception is ranked number 7. It's not terrible. It's just not as useful as Sentinel, and it's okay. Number 6, great weapon fighting, okay? This one lets you roll a 1. When you roll a 1 or 2 on a damage die for an attack you make with a melee weapon that you are wielding in 2 hands, you can reroll the die and must use a new roll, even if the roll is a 1 or 2, okay? The weapon must also have the 2-handed or versatile property for you to gain this benefit, okay? If you roll 1s and 2s often, it's a decent choice. I will caveat by saying this. It will slow down your game. I promise you it will slow down your game. If you're not on top of this, and somebody says, oh wait, I forgot to re-roll that. Oh wait, I gotta re-roll that. It will slow down your game as a DM. Especially if you're playing on a virtual tabletop. I almost don't allow this on virtual tabletops because it messes with a whole bunch of stuff. But if you're doing pen and paper, rolling on a dice bot on Discord, it's decent, okay? You need to pair this up. The best weapon to pair it up with is Greatsword, okay? Because a Greatsword gets 2d6 every attack, and 2d6, you're more likely to roll a 1 or 2, and then you can re-roll that, okay? It's good. Not terrible. It's not great. It's good, okay? Just know the caveats there. Number 5, blind fighting, okay? This is where we're starting to get the good ones, okay? You have blind sense with a range of 10 feet. Within that range, you can effectively see anything that isn't behind total cover, even if you're blinded or in darkness. Moreover, you can see an invisible creature within that range unless the creature successfully hides from you, okay? Let's break this down. At higher levels, okay, this is especially useful, as I have said here. Surprisingly dependent on the situation, it is. Surprisingly useful at higher levels past level 10. Okay? A reason I say this. At higher levels, you're going to be encountering monsters that have invisibility, are invisible. You're going to have spellcasters that can cast darkness on you, and there are even things that can blind you at these levels, okay? Blinded is really bad for you. You get disadvantage on basically all your attacks. It's bad. Blind fighting helps you prevent that, okay? At lower levels of play, like 9 and 8, I don't know if I'd recommend this. It's so situational. At higher levels, it does come up more often. And it's just a cool story moment that you develop a sixth sense. You know, I can see in the dark completely around me, and I can hit people. So, a pretty good fighting style. Not the best, but pretty good to pick up. Number 4, defense. While you're wearing armor, you gain a +1 on your AC. That's it. Simple yet effective. Most benefit is got from tank builds, okay? Example, if you're wearing plate armor and have a shield, you become the ultimate tank. Standard AC for just a regular human, okay, that's wearing plate armor with a shield, and this fighting style is 21. That's pretty high. If you can somehow start at level 5 with all of that stuff, your AC is pretty high, which means you're going to avoid getting hit a lot, okay? I reckon number 4, it's pretty good on a tank build. If you're not going tank build, well, it's not very useful to you. But it is useful on basically every character. Even if you don't take a tank build, take it on a rogue, take it on a wizard, sorcerer, whatever. Just 5% increase to your chance to not get hit is pretty effective. So, rank number 4. 2-weapon fighting, okay? This is 3 with an asterisk, okay? And the asterisk is very important. So we're going to break down what 2-weapon fighting actually does as a fighting style, okay? When you engage in 2-weapon fighting, you can add your ability modifier to the damage of the second attack. Okay? Now let's back up. you can engage in 2-weapon fighting from D&D. From just the rule set, you're going to have you're going to have 2 light weapons, okay? One in each hand, and you can use a bonus attack with a different light weapon. So let's say your main weapon is in your right hand. You're going to attack twice with that one, and you can make a bonus action attack with the weapon in your left hand, okay? Now, what 2-weapon fighting does is give you the modifier back on your weapon on your left hand, okay? This is important because your modifier is a minimum of +1 and it can be up to +5 or even higher, okay? Having that modifier back increases your damage substantially, okay? Now, you must take dual wielder, okay, as a feat. The reason I say this is because you can then upgrade this even further. You gain a +1 to AC when you're wielding these things, okay? Basically, you get a half shield. The 2 weapons don't have to be light, so they can now be long swords, okay? And then you can stow them and draw them, but nobody cares about that. The main thing is at level 5, a fighter with the dual wielder and the 2-weapon fighting style, okay? You can make 2 attacks with your right hand of 1d8 plus your mod, plus 1d8 plus your mod, okay, for your 2 attacks. Then with your left hand, you can make a bonus action attack of 1d8 plus your mod. That is 3 attacks. That is very, very good, okay? This is why I rank it almost pretty great, okay? But remember, with an asterisk, you have to have dual wielder and this fighting style, and you have to have 2 longswords, okay? Then it becomes very good. Number 2, dueling. When you are wielding a melee weapon in one hand and no other weapon, you gain a +2 to damage rolls with that weapon. Basically, every attack you make, guaranteed +2 damage. Very good, okay? If you're at higher levels, for example, a fighter at level 11, that means 6 more damage every single time you attack with 3 attacks if you all hit, okay? You can also pair this with a shield and you won't lose your defense. This is very good for a myriad of reasons, okay? If you don't want the extra AC but you want more damage, you can pair it up. This 2 damage also equals out a polearm in terms of damage because a polearm uses 1d10 plus mod. Now you do, with a longsword in your hand and a shield, you do 1d8 plus 2 plus your mod. So it equals out, okay? Dueling is very good. I can't really say more. It's just great, okay? Number 2, there's a reason for that. And lastly, number 1, archery. You probably guessed what it is. Archery gains you a +2 bonus to attack rolls you make with ranged weapons. Every ranged weapon. Throwing weapons, ranged attacks, all of it, okay? This means you get a 10% chance to hit more often on every single ranged attack you make, okay? This fighting style beats out every single other fighting style if you are a dex character. Why do I say that? Because ranged combat in D&D is the best. Many monsters have a frightening effect around them, okay? And that means that you have to be frightened. You may get poisoned around a monster. There's many reasons to not get close to a monster in D&D 5e, okay? And that's why range is very good. Now, if you're a dex character, this means your regular weapons, okay, will still be good, and you can get into close combat if you need to, but your ranged attacks will just be better, okay? So you can always do a roll. This paired with sharpshooter, you become a damage machine, okay? What does sharpshooter do? Long range no longer imposes disadvantage on your ranged attacks or weapon attack rolls. Amazing, okay? That means your longbow can, instead of hit 150 feet, can now hit 600 feet. Which is ridiculous. Your ranged attacks ignore half cover and 3/4 cover. This is a little bit depending on your DM. My DMs don't usually use cover, so it's very situational, but it's nice to have. But the main reason, before you make an attack with a ranged weapon that you're proficient in, you can choose to take a -5 penalty to the attack roll. If the attack hits, you add 10 damage, plus 10 damage standard to the attack. I don't need to tell you why this is very good. That's a lot of damage, okay, especially at low levels. Archery gives you a +2, so it cancels out to a -3 for you to attack, okay? And also remember that ranged weapons, okay, get their magical ranged weapons, okay, get a +1, +2, +3. But additionally, arrows also come in +1, +2, +3, okay? You can see that your ability to hit things at range is much, much greater than it is at melee range, okay? That's just the way D&D is built. Don't yell at me. It's the way it is. That's why archery is number 1 for basically any build that's going to go dex or use a bow at all. Okay? So there you go. that's all the fighting styles ranked. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a like, leave a comment. Tell me more guides that you would want. Leave them in the comments. Otherwise, on your screen should take you back to a guide about magic and how it works in D&D. Otherwise, I will see you people later.